Let's take a nuclear example. Probability is a core function that allows sustained nuclear reactions to occur. Fission causes the release of neutrons, which go on to produce more fissions in other atoms, which release more neutrons. On the atomic scale, even in uranium and plutonium atoms, they are relatively miles away from each other. The chances of hitting another fissionable atom are low, especially since the fissionable material in a reactor core is a small percent. How would something so improbable become so assured? Answer: increase the probability. Nuclear physicists overcame this very low probability of enough neutrons causing the same amount of fissions, or criticality as it's called, by simply increasing the mass of the reactor to such a size that it would be very improbable for the reactor not to sustain fission. This mass is called critical mass. The math of criticality, the improbable significant number of hits to fissionable material times the low percentage of fissionable materials times the low chance of materials fissioning divided by a large critical mass means a very improbable not to have sustained criticality. The potential for life times chances equals it's improbable for life not to form. Carl Sagan posted this quandary. If there is a chance for evolution to occur on a certain planet, it's pretty probable that some form of life will occur. It's just the math. Once you look at the odds, you will realize why evolutionists believe that these highly unlikely events actually took place. It seems a lot more believable once you can get your head wrapped around the underlying theory, and it makes the theory seem a lot more plausible. Now that we understand that life formed out of random chaos because it had a very strong potential, and probably will do so, what is evolution? Evolution was that one try in near infinite attempts to reach a new stability that worked. It then was able to replicate better than that of its peers and take all the resources until the old and less efficient peers go extinct, or it will fill new niches that its peers cannot fill and will expand in that niche while its peers thrive in the old niche. Evolution relies on stability and not order. Imagine you have a system where energy flows from high to low. However, when it at random were to flow backwards, it would cause a disconnect from the high energy side to the low energy side. Now more order was created from chaos. Stability was created at random. Yes, the chances of it happening are very small, and yet math says that in the vastness of the universe, this is happening constantly all around us. Mutation occurs all around us. Mutation is caused by damage by light, chemical, or pH change in your cells. In the time that it took you to read this, nearly 1% of the cells in your body have undergone a mutation. When DNA is copied, it will have errors. The more chances a cell has in the way of errors, the higher mutation factor it has. Is mutation bad? Mutation can be good or bad depending on the organism it is affecting at the time. RNA-based viruses like influenza and HIV actually rely on making high errors for their survival. If one virus out of the billions is changed by error or damage to better survive and attack a cell, that one virus particle will replicate and become a new strain. This is constantly occurring right now, otherwise HIV and influenza would be no more. Smallpox, however, has a low error rate. We were able to beat smallpox because it does not have enough errors and random tries to fight the immune system when immunized by smallpox. This virus caused the death of nearly 2/5 of all children who contracted it, but we beat it by immunizing it. It did not mutate fast enough to create new strains. It became a dinosaur and died out, or so we hope at this point. Mutation requires many failures. We've seen antibiotics become worthless to a bacteria in a matter of just a short time of 5 years. This means the bacteria had a lot of chances to try and fail randomly to form an immunity to the antibiotic. How did it do this? Number one, fast reproduction. Bacteria can go from a single cell to billions overnight. A small percentage of these have mutations that occur during reproduction, so that while the majority of it is a clone of the original, the minority are different mutations. Some of the mutations are failures and just die out, while some cause no change, and the cell acts just like the other clones. Then there is that one out of the countless others that randomly will find an advantage. Number two, lots of exposures to antibiotics. Thanks to the medical field and the feed and livestock industry, antibiotics are given out at an almost insane rate, pretty much like candy. On top of that, people generally do not take the drugs as prescribed. Therefore, it kills everything but the most resistant mutant, and the mutant then gets to replicate and gets a monopoly on things and is able to reinfect the host, now much more resistant to the antibiotic. New mutants are almost always less efficient. When the environment becomes hostile to the main species, a mutant on the fringes of the species that would normally be at a disadvantage to the rest of the population will suddenly have an advantage and survive while the rest of the species is dying. Usually this mutant is much less effective at, say, reproductive speed or food gathering, but it can survive in these new conditions, and that is all that really matters in an antibiotic-based environment. The environment is everything. 99% of all new species that evolved in this world were caused by changing of environments and weather patterns. Animals that were very well suited to one climate would suddenly have problems living in the new one, and a new mutant that had a better trait in surviving in the new environment would out-eat and outbreed the creature fitted for the old environment. Mutants go on to have other mutants. Mutants will then have a gradient of mutation variations in the small group, and the one that has a trait that makes it more efficient to reproduce will then reproduce more. After enough mutations, the species will then begin to explode in population size until it is dominant. Missing links. Intelligent designers always claim that there are missing links in the species as one animal evolves into the other, and therefore idea is full of holes. On the contrary, our math predicts that finding a missing link is ridiculously improbable. This is because of the inefficiency of the survivors. The species that was dominant left tons of fossils to find. The missing link, however, left very few to no fossils. There's a little missing link fact. A very low population times a very low chances of being fossilized times a very low chance of us finding the fossils equals a miracle that, quote unquote, a miracle that we have found as many links as we have.